What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 42 of the Alchemy Devlog. It's your pal Isaac here with the latest news from the dev team. In this episode, we're going to talk about changes to journal messages in Zen mode and streamer mode. We've got a nice new design for those. We have some small improvements to tactical mode, making things a little bit better there, and incremental improvements across the platform. We'll also take a few moments to talk about where the team's going, what we're working on next, and go through some questions from the Devlog Q&A form. If you have a question of your own, you can ask that through the link down below in the description. Let's dive in. First up, Alchemy Guides. Dan just launched Alchemy Guides on YouTube, and let's just take a look at this intro together. Nice.
Hey there, everyone, and welcome to Alchemy Guides. Alchemy Guides. Alchemy Guide. Alchemy Guides. This is the first in many videos that we're going to be putting out to help you along in using the Alchemy platform. When you create the action in D&D, but if you're having any issues with your maps, you are dead. Don't roll a 1 or 2 on this one. Let's jump inside of a game to see how we can manipulate handouts. You can see here that there are a lot of different options for you. I can either right click and show, or I can just simply drag that character up to the visible area. And all you need to do is click and use it, and you will roll it in chat. 2. Could have been better.
Right. So Dan has a whole list of 16 different guides so far for how to do things on the platform. Prepping for a game night is a very popular one. It just kind of goes end to end. You bought something on the marketplace and you want to start up a game with that and get people playing it. That's kind of the first one on here. And then deep dives into each of the different functions that you encounter throughout using Alchemy. There's just a lot of great stuff on here, all on this playlist, which I'm sure we'll have linked in this video quite a few different ways. So shout out to Dan for putting this great content together. Go check it out. You'll learn a thing or two about Alchemy. I probably would too. Next up, let's take a look at the changes to journal messages in Zen mode and in streamer mode. So first of all, what is Zen mode? You may not know. There is a different mode for viewing a game that you can activate down here from this gear menu. You just click the Zen mode menu item, and it makes all the stuff go away, so you can focus on whatever scene you're looking at, or maybe even the tactical map. Just kind of get all the stuff out of the way so that you can view everything really big and focus on just what that scenery is and kind of get all the stuff out of there. You can bring that stuff back by just clicking that. There's also a keyboard shortcut for it, which is Control-Shift-Z to jump in and out of that at will. So that just makes life a little bit easier, but you were missing journal messages while in that mode. And so since last time, we've rolled out the ability to view those messages as they come in. So for example, if I roll a pair of D6s here, you see that message come in Zen mode and show up for a little while. You can interact with these, click on them to view details, and then they fade out after 10 seconds, just like that. So you kind of have this stream of messages coming in as you're using Zen mode, but they're not there forever cluttering things up. We brought this same sort of ephemeral message to streamer mode as well. So if I turn on streamer mode and launch that for this game, and again, I'm going to use my browser magic here to put that in a side-by-side window. The rolls that come in through streamer mode are treated the same way. So if we roll 3d6 here, you'll see it kind of pop in and hang out here in streamer mode for 10 seconds and then fade away. We might do some more for this, particularly for streamer mode in the future, to let you choose how long those messages last, or whether or not they kind of disappear at all. There's definitely some options for us there to explore in terms of how the streamer experience plays, but we wanted to start with getting those out there and integrated into both the Zen and streamer mode. Next up, in tactical mode, there is a new setting for your WebGL power preference. So kind of nerd alert. Sorry, I said WebGL. This is a new preference here in the gameplay settings under the gameplay tab here in performance. There's a WebGL power preference setting here. And what this does is it hints at our tactical mode what sort of power preference to use when rendering all of that good stuff. So if you choose default is what it's going to start at. That's going to use whatever your browser's default is for this. If you choose low power mode, that's going to switch things over to a lower power mode, which might impact performance for you. It might make things run a little bit chunkier in tactical mode, but your power usage will be drastically reduced. If you're running this on a laptop and you notice that your fans kick on and your battery only lasts, a quarter of the time that it normally does, try out low power mode. In my testing, the testing on the team, there's no impact on, of course I'm showing this on a scene that doesn't have a tactical map, so way to go there, right? There's no impact on like performance that we've been able to measure using this, and it's just all around kind of better. So give it a try. It's sort of experimental right now. Let us know what you're finding. And by the way, there's a handy little new feature for tactical mode. You can press and hold Alt-Shift and press F to bring up a frames per second counter up here in the top left, so you can kind of keep an eye on what your frame rate is in tactical mode. I'm going to go ahead and put a little map of some sort on here so that we have actually something to work with. We'll just grab this map of mythic Britain and Ireland. That'll be fun. Okay, so now we actually have something in tactical mode. That's a better place to start. So yeah, you can bring up the FPS counter with again the keyboard shortcut for that is Alt-Shift-F. There's also Alt-Shift-D, which will give you a whole bunch more information about what's going on with tactical mode. This may be useful for troubleshooting certain things with you all, but don't worry about it too much. But if you are curious what your FPS is while you're doing this sort of thing, you can get that with Alt-Shift-F. I'm sure we'll have this in a guide or something somewhere too. So yeah, try this out with low power mode and take a look at your FPS. Keep an eye on what's going on there and just let us know generally how things are feeling. I know we have a long ways to go to make tactical mode a smoother and kind of just better experience overall. Don't worry, we're working on it. This is kind of one step in that direction. But yeah, try out those power preference modes and let us know what you think. All right, next up, we have some new features in Sheet Builder. We're adding more and more people to the Sheet Builder beta all the time. I think there's around 60 people in there right now, and they're all having a pretty good time enjoying what's going on there. But let's take a look at what's new over the last couple of weeks. I'm going to go ahead and jump into my sysbuild 39 universe. This seems like a good enough one to start with. And I'll go ahead and create a new sheet. We'll create a new player character sheet. We'll call it Untitled PC2. Publish that one, and then bring it up here to start with. So first of all, we have a new option for our headings, the H1, H2, and H3 blocks, to be able to use Markdown in these. So if you wanted to enable Markdown on these, you can turn that switch on and then do different things with Markdown in here. If you needed an italicized header for some reason, you could do that. If you wanted to put an image in there, be careful, but you could do that as well. It's going to look really good. Love that one. That's a heading. So you can use Markdown in those now. Pretty great. I showed this off last time. You can do alignment options for left, center, and right. Now you can also adjust the padding of headings. So if you want more heading padding on the top of the heading, you can have an additional heading padding configured here, as well as bottom. If you need a little more space beneath that heading and the thing that follows it. Of course, there's nothing following it here, so that, use your imagination that it's pushing something else down besides just the footer. And then the left and right padding here as well. So that's all configurable for headings to help you have a little bit more flexibility in the layouts on your sheets. We also have some new improvements to pip blocks. So we'll drop a pip out here. You can set the default values for it here. We also have some new defaults for using pips inside of lists. So if I drop a list layout block here, and then I put a pip block inside of that, I can now configure the defaults for that pip when it's inside of this list. So I can turn this on and choose to have a default of, let's say, 2 out of 6 for any pips that are created in this list. So now if we close that and we leave edit mode and we go and add an item to this list, it's going to be a pip that starts out with 2 out of 6 filled in. Nice little improvement to pips that we needed for a system, and you need it too. Next up, we have some improvements to the skill block. Let me drag one of those out here, and I'm going to close this and set it up. New skill 1, we'll give it a value of 2, and new attributes, fine for these purposes. So if I go back into edit mode and select this skill block, first of all, this configuration panel has been cleaned up significantly. We've got a new option here for a pip marker. Actually, the pip marker, I think, is not new, but what's new is being able to invert it. In any case, the pip marker, you turn it on, and that puts just kind of a general purpose pip on the side of this that you can toggle on or off to indicate things like having some sort of proficiency in this skill. And in the configuration panel, you can choose to invert the pip placement, meaning it appears on the opposite side of that block, so on the right side instead of the left. You've also got all kinds of nice options in here to configure the skill block exactly as you want, but many of these are not new since last time, so mostly it's just a nice cleaned up configuration block for this skill guy. Beyond that, we've released a lot of great bug fixes for system builder things, and as I mentioned earlier, we're continuing to add more and more people to the beta for that. It's getting closer and closer to something that we can release to you all. There's really just a few things left there. We want to make sure that we've taken care of all the cases where things don't work right and it's, disastrous for your sheet. And we want to make sure that things work the way we want them to, both in the universe and in game. That's kind of the missing link right now, is a lot of the using of these sheets in a game. You're missing some of that integration for making your sheets really playable and play nicely in an Alchemy game. So those are kind of the two big things left on our list here, besides just kind of building more and more features into each of the blocks. All right, what's up next? We are working on a bug fix for contributing to universes owned by someone else. So right now, the way that you can collaborate on a universe is you can be invited to that universe to work on it with someone. So if we bring up the universes here, and I wanted to invite someone to collaborate on my Devlog Q&A universe, I could go in and I could right click on this and edit and go to the sharing tab and add someone to this. And then they could be an editor of this or an owner, and they can start to contribute articles and other objects to this module. However, if I'm on a paid subscription, I have unlimited objects in my universe, but they're on a free subscription and they only have up to 50 objects. They can't contribute to my universe once it's gone beyond that 50 object limit. So kind of cleaning up some of the stuff around that, fixing that bug where you can't contribute to someone else's universe, even though their subscription's in good standing, and making it so that you can contribute to their universe, even as a free subscriber beyond that limit. And we have some things to kind of take care of with how we do that, but that's kind of a big bug fix that was planned for this week that's kind of spilling over into next week. Another big one is the streamer mode camera layouts. So we'll bring up this Dragonbane Quick Start game just to kind of show what I'm talking about here. Over in the streamer mode panel, we have these game and all cameras, GM camera buttons here that are all kind of coming soon and have been coming soon, and I've talked about them before. That was another one that was pretty close to launching this week, but needs just a little bit more time to marinate and get everything right with that. But that's kind of another big one on the team's list. Another huge one that we're working on is the game system City of Mist. And we're taking some extra time with City of Mist to make sure that we give it the sort of best-in-class alchemy implementation, not just kind of throwing it out there and then iterating on it as much as we do on some other systems. But we want it to be kind of great out of the gate on launch day. So we're taking a little bit of a step back with City of Mist to really look at how this game works and what will make it great to play on Alchemy as compared to other platforms. And we're even making sure that the staff plays a game of City of Mist next week. We're going to, once we've gone through and added these extra features that we need for City of Mist, we're going to play a game ourselves, see how it feels, see what it needs, and kind of give it some extra time to marinate with the team. Speaking of marinating, we've got Vampire, which has been approved by Paradox. I think I mentioned that last time. If not, there you go. We're working on the final pieces to make sure that this incredibly popular game is treated with the respect and care that it needs for such a big title. So we're really taking our time to make sure everything is in working order for the launch of that coming later on this time period. Keep an eye on all of our announcements for that, but it's coming soon. Soon. Speaking of, some of the recent systems that we've released have kind of maybe not been up to the quality bar that we like to strive to be at here at Alchemy. And we have definitely gotten a lot of feedback about that, and we're taking it all to heart, sometimes a little bit too much to heart. But just rest assured that we definitely hear what you're all saying, and we have all these things on our lists. We're collecting the feedback, we're collecting the bugs, and we're working on things. Just because something's live on Alchemy or released on our marketplace doesn't mean that we're done working on it. If you've been around Alchemy for any time, you see us continue to improve things every week. Even 5e, which was kind of one of the first games that we launched on here. I wouldn't call it finished, not to our standards, not to really anybody's standards. There's still stuff we need to do to make that completely end-to-end as good as it can be. But that's not to say that we've stopped working on it. And every week we release new stuff on the platform. We make improvements even to systems as old as 5e. We're always putting out new things there. So if your favorite game on Alchemy isn't as good as you want it to be, let us know. It's likely that we already know and we're already working on it, but let us know anyway, and we'll keep plugging away on all of these things. And that kind of feeds into what I was talking about with City of Mist and Vampire. We're really working on those games to make sure they're as awesome as they can be. And to that end, we're putting together some focus groups on our Discord to kind of dive into some of these games. I don't have anything solid to announce on that yet. There's not like a sign-up form or anything like that. But if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you're in our Discord and you're paying attention to our announcements channel, and we'll get you in on that. If you're, for example, an expert on City of Mist and you really care about it, that's going to be a place that we'll want you to be. All right, let's jump on over to Q&A. All right, we've got some questions here from the Demiurge. Welcome back to the Q&A, the Demiurge. First up is a question about multiple NPCs. When adding multiple of one type of NPC to a scene, say a group of goons that all have the same token image, the NPC list can get quite cluttered because the UI shows them as multiple individual tokens when hidden. They're also not differentiated in any way, so it can be very difficult to visually identify which tokens on the battle map represent which in the turn order. I know that they're highlighted when hovering over them, but this can also be cumbersome and slow down combat. So in this scenario, it'd be great if just a single token was displayed in the hidden list so that it's condensed and requires less scrolling, with maybe an icon badge showing the number of goons that have been added to the scene. It'd also be awesome if, once added to the turn order, each was enumerated, goon 1, goon 2, etc., automatically. Eventually, it'd also be great if the NPC sheets allowed for multiple token images that would be randomized when added to the turn order, so there's even more visual differentiation. And then my band of goons wouldn't look like a clone army. Keep up the great work. I enjoy this VTT so much, and it's always exciting to see what the Alchemy team rolls out next. Best, the Demiurge. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the kind words at the end of your message here. It's always great to hear that. And really, we appreciate that you are excited about stuff. It's great. So yeah, I understand what you're saying here, and I think this is a great idea. There's definitely some improvements to be made in terms of managing groups of NPCs, both in the NPC panel, the encounter panel, and in combat. Actually, I think the encounter panel is probably the least of the worries here. Because each of those is going to be kind of a turn in combat, unless you're dealing with a swarm or something like that. But In any case, I think managing them in the NPCs panel and having them all kind of look the same, you have to go through and you have to click on each one of them and change its image individually. I think there's definitely some cool quality of life things that we could do here. So we'll definitely take this feedback to heart and see what this pumps into our roadmap post V1. So thank you for the information and push here on that one. Next up, also from the Demiurge, spoiler, I think that's all we've got this week is Demiurge feedback, so thank you for that. That's all we've got time for, I should say. Show handouts. Are there any plans to add the ability to send handouts to the journal? I really love this feature with NPCs as it's a great way to bring them to my players' attention or remind them who or what is in the scene. Similarly, I like how handouts automatically pop up for my players when they're first shared, but it'd be great to have the option to quickly pop them up on my player screens whenever as a storytelling device. For example, popping a handout up on their screens as a surprise, a dreadnought jumps through the portal. Time to roll initiative. Keep up the awesome work, Alchemy team. Best, the Demiurge. So I actually was surprised when I read this one that we didn't already have this feature for handouts. And I think it's because you can share handouts with your players, as you've mentioned, by right-clicking on that handout and choosing to share it to a player, and then it pops up in their handouts panel in the game. But that's not to say you couldn't share them to the journal as well. So I actually really like that idea as a quick way to share a handout. You could have it pop into the journal. Seems like something that we should do. So definitely going to add that to our list. I will say one thing for your surprise dreadnought jumping through the portal. That's a perfect time to change scenes. If you want to pop a surprise scene change on your players that shows even an animated thing of a dreadnought jumping through a portal, that would be super cool. Roll initiative. You've got your initiative list for that scene all set up. That's just your example. And I think that would be a cool way to do a scene transition. But you could do that as a handout that you share so that they can look at that and you can have it pop up in the journal with the nice image and everything. So this would definitely be nice for maps and things of that sort too. So great suggestion. And I think we'll actually roll that out sooner than later. Okay, last up, universe organization. I feel like this may have come up before allowing for more organization in games and universes, but has there been any thought on grouping scenes and handouts in game? For example, expanding folders or something similar. It'd be great if there were also automatically grouped by the purchase content they came with. I'm loath to delete them all after meticulously setting them up with visual effects, music, and ambience, but that leads to a rather lengthy list to scroll through. Keep it up, Alchemy team, you rock. The best, the Demiurge. So organizing scenes in game is definitely something that we've spent a lot of time coming up with designs for and thinking through how we want those to be structured. And we have just a bunch of ideas around how we could do that, a bunch of great designs, but we haven't gotten to actually implementing that yet. So if you have any feedback on exactly how you'd like that to work, send it our way and we'll take it into consideration since we haven't actually finished that yet. I will say that today there is something you can do to help keep your scenes a little bit more organized, and that's using tagging. So if I jump over to a game, we'll go back into that Dragonbane quick start. And if I edit this scene, I can add a tag to this. We'll put a tag of A on this one. I don't know, our tagging system or our search, I think, is going to look at multiple fields, so A is not going to be unique enough. Let's do something a little bit more unique, like the area. That's very... so now if I search or filter the scenes list by the area, it's going to show only scenes in the list where this string matches like the title of the scene or the tags on the scene. And so now I've kind of filtered this down to just scenes with that tag. And if I close that one out, X out that tag, we get everything back. So you can kind of use tags as a way to group your scenes together. Like if we were to take this one and call it also the area tag, and then filter again by the area, we get both of those scenes in here. So I mean, that's kind of a folder technically, but it's not very user friendly. It's not very quick to do. But yeah, absolutely, we need to do more to make scenes organizable in game and give you some more tools around that. And like I mentioned at the beginning of my rambling response to this question, we do have some designs around how we want to do that in game. We just haven't gotten around to actually doing it. So you also mentioned universe scenes and organization there. I want to touch on that briefly. When you're inside of a content universe like the Devlog Q&A, you can create sections for articles. Like I've organized these into the index here and then all the articles down below. You can put these little dividers in here. Those are only present for articles, but we do want them for scenes as well. We're not very far away from actually doing that for scenes and having some more organization around all the things in universe. So kind of you mentioned universes in your question, so I wanted to dive into that a little bit as well. All right, that's it for Q&A, and that's all for this episode of the Devlog. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, head on down below, smash that like button, subscribe for future updates, and have a look at the other videos that we're putting out there. Like I mentioned, Dan's got those Alchemy Guides. You should go watch one of those. They're awesome. You'll learn a few things. Like I said, I'd probably learn a few things about how to use Alchemy too. There's just really great stuff on there. And once you're done leveling up your skills, let's go play some games.